I've heard a little bit about your story, and there's some amazing things happening in your world right now, which you were slowly telling me a little bit about. But tell me all, like, what's happening. We're going to talk about a little bit about your past and your journey and your story, which is amazing. Yeah. But there's some amazing things happening right now. Do you want to share that with us a little bit?
Yeah. I guess do you want to hear about the gang stuff that I'm doing now?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, after my life changed and, you know, I've been in the world, you know, really heavily invested in the world of crime for nearly all of my life, and 50 years old, my life changed, and you know, I got saved, and you know, all the rest of it, and so God came into my life and changed me, but He put me back into the world that I came from.
Yeah, wow.
And I went back in as a new person, and still broken, still trying my hardest and everything else, but put me back in with a different heart, a different mindset, and you know, so I'm working with the biggest gangs in New Zealand. That's the Black Power, the Mongrel Mob. There's a number of others, but the other two biggest gangs in New Zealand, there's none bigger. And so I'm working with them, and well, they're just like I was. I see a lot of them coming to the Lord. I see a lot of their lives changing. I've seen the gangs start to change. They're sitting here, I can bring them to the table together. We can have God's conversations, we can talk about crime, we can talk about broken families, we're talking about addictions, we're talking about traumas, we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about child abuse, we're talking about sexual abuse. We're talking about all these things are on the table now. I've been through all of those things. I came from a house that was full of domestic violence, you know, my father bashing up my mum every night, and you know, bashing me when I got to about 6, 7, all the way till I left home. I couldn't stay there anymore. Sexually abusing my mother, and there's a whole lot of ugly stuff, you know. And you know what, I thought that was just normal life. I thought that's how everybody was. I thought that's just how it was. I got sexually abused, you know, when I was 8, and again when I was 14. I left home when I was 14. I was sexually abused. I was living on the streets. Things were pretty hard, but it was my boss that was sexually abusing me. You know, so this is a story from broken people. It's just an everyday story. You know, I was ashamed of it. I had this real shame on me. I had a real shame. I was never telling anybody, but I ended up telling my wife when I first got with her, because I didn't know why. I've never told anybody, but I thought I had to tell somebody. And so I told Hayley, and then I also told her that I was going to marry her too. It was on the same, almost on the same date. It was the second date.
So you had it all. You're like, this is my baggage, and this is my stuff. But by the way, I'm going to marry you in the future. You're like, okay.
Yeah, it's quite funny, eh? But I just had to tell somebody, and I chose Hayley. I never told anybody all my life.
Wow.
I told her I was marrying, but it wasn't until 6 years later that I seen her after that date. It was, you know, a long time before, in between drinks, but.
So hang on a second. So you bumped into each other in a pub?
Numerous times actually over a number of years, and then that particular one was a date in a pub, but it was numerous little times.
It was a second
years.
date actually.
Yeah, and
did you know anything about his background at that time?
I guess a little bit, but not. I knew about drugs and...
Everybody knew about it now. Honestly, she's just trying to be nice. Like, in Christchurch, I was born and bred in Christchurch, and Christchurch is the second biggest city in New Zealand. And between me and my friends, we ran a whole 70% of that city. Everybody on our side of town, which Hayley was included, knew about who I was, what we did, and everything about it.
So you were part of the gangs? And
I was number 2, which is it's a massive crime syndicate there. It started off as a gang. It started off in the prison, in the maximum security. You know, when you run the prison, you run the streets. So we went from there to the streets, and then we went into all different factions. It was all on drugs. It was extortion. It was I guess prostitution. It was all that kind of stuff. It was big money. The people that are involved in it now, it's out the gate. They're not people looking like me.
What are they looking like?
They were in suits and all types of different stuff, you know. And we ended up being the heavies, but we started off running it, and then it kind of got taken over, and it's a real big dangerous syndicate. But I was the number 2, and you know, everybody pretty much knew. And I had a multi-gang affiliation with every gang in New Zealand.
Right.
And it didn't make me untouchable. There's no such thing, but it made me that I could go to any club, and I did. I went to any of their things. I did a lot of work with them, business kind of, you know, stuff. And they had a real good respect for me, and I did with them too.
Yeah.
It went both ways. But
Yeah.
you know, what I said and it went. And if I said it, that's how it was. So there was a mutual respect of trust, you know, integrity.
Yep.
I was all about integrity because my word's everything. Yeah, so she knew, everybody knew on our side of town.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it all existed, but
And that's not being a big head either. I'm not being a big head.
No, but I was still out of touch enough that you don't know the grip, you know, the enormity of it.
Yeah.
Because I was in an area of still like, oh, everything's fine, you know.
Yeah.
And when you start to get a little bit older and start to see things for what it really is, you realise how actually deep and spread out this actually is from way back. So that's what I discovered, you know, later. I was like, oh, that's what that was, and that's what that was. So yeah.
Were you already invested emotionally into him?
No.
At this stage?
Come on, tell the truth.
Love at first sight.
I was for him, but not that I saw the huge crime link.
Oh no, that's
initially
something hidden,
back
but
then.
people knew about it.
I sometimes say I think I was quite blessed to have some rose-coloured glasses on.
Yeah.
And it got me through just enjoying him for who he was, without it being about anything else.
Yeah.
And as much as
Making me sound cheap, to be honest.
so as much as it's like it was definitely a God thing. I feel like I could see his heart.
Yeah. And did you have a background of like a belief? No, you didn't.
Oh, of belief?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was christened, so I always like to say
there was something
that I thought I was a Christian because I was christened as a baby. Yeah, so in my mind I was saved.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
but I didn't do church or anything. You know,
No.
I just would tick the box if it said, "Are you a Christian?"
Yeah.
You know, when it would say that in the census or whatever. But no, I had no idea what that meant. So even after Lucky was saved, I still was like, what is this about?
She was trying to pull me back into the dark side of the world, to be honest.
I was getting to lose him as he was.
Isn't that interesting? Because when that supernatural encounter happens, it's an experience that you've had personally, but it's like, I can't explain to you what's happened to me because something really wacky and nutty has happened. Yeah. It's like you got to have your own experience so you get it, right?
Yeah.
But at the moment we've got this enlightened one, and then you're in the dark going, "What the flip?"
Yeah,
he's become like a Bible basher.
Well, I was just so concerned he was going to change for worse.
Worse.
He changed for the worse. Because remember, I'd already invested in him as he was, and I was thinking, no, this is okay. Because that's all I knew.
That's right,
all
of course.
I knew.
Yeah, and now he's spreading this God stuff.
And I was freaking out that he was going to turn into something religious. And no, he wasn't.
Yeah, that's right.
You know.
And that's what happens when we actually don't understand. We see something, but we don't understand it. We're afraid of it.
Yeah.
We go, okay, this is unfamiliar. This is weird. And so
So I was the handbrake.
Yeah. You were like, whoa, like calm down. Like So in that, okay. So you've guys have been, when this all started to happen. So you've been together for how long?
Oh my gosh.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
So you'd been together a year and a half, and then.
Yeah.
And then bam.
And then this one has an awakening, a spiritual awakening.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It was a.
So tell me what happened in that supernatural encounter.
Okay, so we were both living in Christchurch, and Hayley had a business, and I had a business in Christchurch, and we were both doing really well. And we got together, and I just knew that if I was ever going to be able to have a different life, I couldn't stay there.
Right.
And I had to say to Hayley, I can't stay there. You know, we're going to have to move, we're going to have to leave. So she goes, well, where would you want to go? And I said Kaikoura. Kaikoura's got the best surf in New Zealand, also the best hunting, the best spearfishing, best diving, and it's only 2.5 hours away from the city.
Yeah.
So it's nothing, and I've gone there all my life. That's all I ever did, because I grew up on the beach.
Yeah.
And me and my brother surfed all of our lives. I was the president of our board riders club. But I was the president of the board riders club. I was on the South Island Surf Association. I was a rep for Billabong and Spy Sunglasses and all that shit for for the South Island, but I was a drug dealer and I was a gangster. I got the job with Billabong because I was a drug dealer. I could sell anything, and you know, just kind of just rolled and all this stuff, and you know, I said to Hayley, well, let's go to Kaikoura because I know a lot of people there. I just love being there.
Yeah.
So she goes, okay. And so I retired. I was 3 months off being 50. And that was me done and dusted. I was finished, and I had a boat. I went fishing every day. I went spearfishing, went surfing. Did everything I wanted to do, and life was good. I got drunk every night. I got left alone. There was no crime. You know, there was no crime in my life. There was no more fights. I lost my teeth on the last fight, actually, just in case you know. I want to know.
When was that, last week?
Yeah, no, that was just before I got saved. Just before my life changed. I can't believe
so
it.
you will never
My whole life I went through. I had hundreds of thousands of fights. What I did was fight, and that last bug got my teeth. Hey, so I've got new teeth getting made at the moment, but yeah, just so we went there, and then a guy I know who surfed, and real good. He was a good surfer. He had 4 sons. His oldest son was the top surfer in Kaikoura, and I knew them all, and he was a pastor, and I didn't know that. And he kept inviting me to church. When we turned up, he just invited me to church. I couldn't believe it. He was like a little stalker, to be honest. And invited me, and I didn't have a reason to not go. I got 4 mental health issues. I got probably a lot more, but ones I've been diagnosed was I've got Asperger's, OCD, dyslexia, and what's the other one?
OCD, Asperger's, dyslexia,
Bipolar.
ADHD, bipolar.
Okay.
So got a whole lot of shit going on, and anyway, one part of me on the spectrum is I can't lie. I have to tell what's on my heart.
Yeah.
You know,